So we're about halfway through season 1 now, which means that everything is going to start picking up pace. This is also the play episodes. Remember when I mentioned that Miss Nina was writing a play about Miss Sarah's life? Yeah, we're about to see that come true. These were some of my favorite episodes to watch when I watched this and writing my script. So I'm very, very, very excited to kind of bring it in and all of the drama that surrounds this. We have about half of our things revealed up here. So this is like the halfway point. This is what our board looks like at the halfway point with all of the connections so far, some of which we have discussed, some of which we haven't. So the next morning after breakfast, after Victor had found Nina and Fabian at the bottom of the stairs with this little piece here, Nina is telling Patricia and Fabian what she heard, like him basically being like, no, about finding out that these kids have the piece, and Fabian reveals that Victor has put their piece in the safe. Victor decides to have his own little gossipy session with Miss Daphne and Mr. Sweet, and he reveals that there is actually more than one relic. They originally believed that they were in possession of the Ankh itself. And they call the Ankh the one true relic. That'll pop up later, so I'm just going to say that. That is the one true relic. We don't know what the Ankh is yet, but we will find out. Daphne emphasizes that the chosen hour is approaching. What does that mean? We will also find that out. And Victor reveals that Rufus has disappeared. I don't know if I mentioned this, but when Rufus was taken from the hospital by Patricia, the nurse at the hospital ends up calling Victor to tell Victor about Rufus's disappearance. That also means that the people at the hospital are in on Joy's disappearance. So literally, there's no one in this town that these kids can trust at all. Side eye greatly. So remember how I said that Sabuna basically created the play about Sarah's life to be like this whole thing to kind of catch Victor out and get him to be like, oh my god, like what is going on? Well, since they lost this piece because it was taken by Victor and it's in his safe and everyone will be at the play, Nina comes up with the plan that when they're performing the play, she has time to like get off stage. She's playing Sarah, by the way. She's playing Sarah. She has time to get off stage and she's going to break into Victor's office and steal the piece back. And Fabian, Mr. Sir watching from the stairs, believes that he can figure out Victor's code because he saw it. Nothing, and you know, out of all of the things that have happened in this show so far, the least believable thing, in my personal opinion, has been Fabian thinking that he could decipher Victor's safe code because he saw it from far away on the stairs. Let me see if I. Here's the fucking scene. That's how far away he was. And he believes that he remembers this code. That same day, Fabian's uncle stops by House of Anubis to drop off a book called Unlocking the Eye. He's bringing this to Fabian and Nina because I believe when they took the cylinders and this piece to him, they said that they were working on like a history project for Egypt, you know, not to seem suspicious. So he found this book and he thought it would be very helpful in figuring out anything they needed to figure out. It is also the day of the play and everyone got this mail and Patricia receives a letter that tells her she needs to open it in private. So in the book Unlocking the Eye, Fabian reads about King Tut's secret lover. So the story goes, when King Tut died, Anubis, you know, the god of death, left Amneris, Tut's lover, with the cup of Ankh, which is the cup of immortality. The story says that if someone drinks the elixir of life from the cup of Ankh, that they will live forever. In the wrong hands, it can lead to tyranny, disposts, and war. In order to protect the cup of Ankh, Amneris decides that she is going to bury said cup with her lover, Tut. And because of this story and because of the pieces that they find, Nina and Fabian theorize that maybe, just maybe, the treasure that they are looking for inside the house is in fact the cup of Ankh itself. Because remember, the Frobisher Smythes, the original owners of this house, Sarah's parents, went on an expedition to find King Tut's tomb, which they did and were accused of stealing stuff from, but it was never found. So Nina and Fabian are starting to think that maybe, just maybe, these are the cup. Patricia reads the letter, and all it really says is D4, so she goes to tell the other Sabuna members, and Nina believes it to be a message from Rufus. Remember, he's kind of like AWOL right now. Patricia rescued him from the hospital, but he's kind of an AWOL. They've not been able to call him, they've not been able to text him. Victor and his posse don't know where he is, so Nina thinks that this might be a secret message from Rufus himself. Nina also thinks that because it is the night of the play, that it is Rufus telling her where he is going to be sitting during that play. And when the evening comes, the person in the seat D4 is not Rufus, but Joy. So yes, Joy is alive. She's not dead. Miss Patricia is very happy to hear this. Remember, she's been spending this whole fucking season looking for her bestie, and her bestie is alive. So yay. We love you, Joy. Patricia, excited that Miss Joy showed up to the play, is showing Fabian the card that says D4, which is her seat number, and Fabian figures out that the message on the card was not just D4, it had something written in mirror writing. So he tells her to hold it up to the mirror to see what it says, and it says, "Meet me tonight, 9, clearing in the woods, Joy." So she plans to meet up with Patricia. Nina is able to successfully make it back to Anubis' house while everyone is preoccupied, but unfortunately, Victor does whatever the fuck he wants, and while waiting for Act 2 to start, heads back to Anubis' house as well. So she's trying to figure out this safe code, but the safe code is incorrect. Fabian did not get it like I correctly thought so. So Nina starts panicking and she starts looking through Victor's drawers in his desk to see if there's any code written down anywhere. And she stumbles across these pieces which were from the little ritual before, and she's really freaked out. It has like Nina, this one says Jerome, it has all of their names on it, basically. So she's now freaked out, and then all of a sudden she hears Mr. Victor coming back into his office. Victor comes back into his office, and for some unknown reason, he decides to open the safe. And when he opens the safe, we find that not only did Nina and Fabian find one piece, it has a twin piece. So when Victor was talking to Daphne and Sweet, and he revealed that they thought they had the ink, this is what they thought, and now he realizes that there's more than one piece. So now we have twin pieces. While Victor is staring at his little pieces in the office, Mr. Sweet comes to realize that Rufus is also at this show. So, like, everybody who's supposed to be here is here, minus Joy, because she's not really supposed to be there. But everybody is here, and it's causing a big problem. Like, the drama in this episode is, like, kind of insane. When he realizes Rufus is in the crowd, he has to call Victor, and Victor says that they are going to eliminate this threat for good sometime. So this man is never going to beat the murderer allegations, because why? He's over here. Why is he always wanting to kill people? Anyways, he goes back to the school building where the play is happening, and Nina successfully does not get caught by Victor in his office where she's not supposed to be and trying to steal the pieces, and is able to type in the code that she saw him type in and take both of the pieces instead of just one. So now Victor has no pieces. Loser. Nina gets back in time to save her scene in Act 2 because Victor held her up, so she was almost late, almost missed her scene. And when she gets off stage, she tells Fabian and Patricia that Victor is going to eliminate somebody in the crowd tonight. And Miss Patricia believes that it is Joy because, remember, he's not beating the murderer allegations, and she's not supposed to be here, and they already thought he killed her. It is a whole mess. The play finishes up, and the cast goes to do their bows. Joy stands up and she's like clapping because she's so happy and she's so proud. And when she does this, her hood falls off and people start to recognize her, people like Sweet and Victor. So Patricia, thinking that Victor is going to kill Joy, tells her to run. So Victor runs after Joy. Rufus charges the fucking stage and tells Patricia that he needs to meet her outside in 30 minutes by the bike shed where she kept him in his wheelchair. Victor, the man, unfortunately does find Joy. She hid in like a classroom when running from him. And he tells her that she cannot see Patricia. He also tells her it's time for her to disappear again, and then he calls her the chosen one, which she replies that she does not want to be. So let's add a little thing. Let's add a little thing for her. This is Joy. She is the chosen one, the chosen hour. There's a lot of chosen things here. But she did not choose to be the chosen one. She does not want to be the chosen one. Patricia runs out into the hallway to go see if she can find Miss Joy, and Mrs. Andrews basically tells Joy that if she values Patricia's safety, she will keep quiet. Meanwhile, Nina tells Fabian that she found twin pieces instead of just one, and that they might be more than just clues. Patricia meets up with Rufus, and he basically says that he's the one who convinced Joy to come to the play tonight. And he's like, well, how did you know she was there? And Patricia says that she left her a note and shows him this note. And he's like, oh, oh, you should take me to the spot with you. So Miss Patricia does, but at first she has to sign out with Anubis' house. So she signs out and says that she's going with like her aunt and uncle who came to the play, but instead she's going to the clearing in the woods with Rufus to wait for Joy to come meet her. Victor kind of stewing about the play because there was or wasn't a character, maybe or maybe not, played by Fabian, who is maybe or maybe not Victor. He presses Mr. Winkler about that, and Mr. Winkler's like, well, I didn't write it. Amber, Fabian, and Nina did. They have like this little party at Anubis' house because most of the people who were in it were in Anubis' house because main characters. And during this time, Victor finds out that both of the pieces that he had in his safe are no longer there. So again, this man is already suspicious, and now all of a sudden, the pieces that he had in the safe are gone. It is now 9 o'clock that night, the night of the play, and Joy has yet to show up to the meeting place where Patricia and Rufus are waiting for her. And when Nina gets concerned because Patricia is not home yet, she calls her. And Patricia answers and she's like, yeah, I'm with Rufus. And Rufus like gets mad at her and then takes her phone. And then he's like, yeah, fine, whatever. And then drives off. He kidnaps poor Patricia. R.A.P. If she hasn't been through enough trauma this year, now she's being kidnapped by this guy. Next day, Mara, Patricia's roommate. I know it's been a while since we mentioned Mara because she literally does nothing but romance with Mick. Mara asks Miss Nina if she knows where Patricia is, and Nina's like, no, I thought she was with her aunt and her uncle. I never knew she didn't come back. We, as the audience, know that Miss Patricia is kidnapped. Fabian and Nina are actually hoping that she's with Miss Joy, that they're just catching up after a good long time. But we cut to Rufus and Patricia in this like abandoned warehouse thing that he's keeping her in. And she's like, let me go. And he rips out, she doesn't have him in this picture, but she has like little hair color streaks that you clip in your hair. He takes those out of her hair, and then he takes his bracelet, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with you. Okay? You think you're special? You're not. I don't want anything to do with you. Okay? And leaves. Rufus then decides to call up Mr. Sweet, and he's basically like, guess what? I have Patricia. I have one of your students. Yeah, I have your student. If you didn't know, I have your student, and she's fine for now, but I have demands. I have demands if you want her back. Sweet then says in response to this that Rufus is no longer a part of the society and that he cannot make demands. And Rufus is like, yeah, think again. Victor, on his petty shit because he has beef with 8 teenagers, decides to confront the house members of Anubis about the missing pieces from his safe. And Fabian's like, yeah, right, when did they go missing? And Victor's like, yeah, during the play. And Fabian's like, you see, we were all in the play. We were on the stage. We were all in it. So how could we have stolen it if we were in the play? Like Fabian has thought this through. This man is the smartest man in Anubis' house. He's thought this through. He's got the lie down pat. But Mr. Victor, he's not worried. That man has never worried a day in his life. Do you want to know why he's not worried? Because he has security cameras in his office. He may have had to take the other ones down. Maybe in the common areas he had to take those security cameras down, but in real life, he left one up in his office, meaning that he has Nina on camera stealing the safe pieces. So he's basically like, don't worry, if you don't rat the person out, I'm going to find out anyways because I have it all on camera. Luckily, my queen, my savior, Miss Trudy, stops the interrogation to tell Victor that Sweet needs him in his office. The reason he called them to his office, because he got a hand-delivered package of Patricia's things. The hair streaks, the bracelet, confirming that Rufus does, in fact, have Miss Patricia in his clutches, that he does have her kidnapped. And guess what? Guess what? Victor doesn't give a fuck. That man does not care. It is the last thing on his mind. But Miss Andrews and Mr. Sweet are like, well, it would be bad publicity for the school if she continued to be missing. So we have to find her. And Victor's like, yeah. During this time, Victor also thinks that it's important to talk about the Ankh pieces and be like, yeah, those got stolen from my safe. Like, Victor, a child is missing. A child that was in your care is missing. Priorities are a little different here. And thankfully, Miss Andrews has something right in her mind. Okay? And she's like, yeah, we need to give in. We need to get Patricia back. Like I said, Victor is so against this. Like, he does not give a fuck about these kids. He does not give a fuck about these kids. And because Miss Andrews wants to like give in and rescue Patricia, she's like, it's our duty. Like, we're educators. And Victor's like, no, our only duty is to the society and protecting the chosen one. So the society, we've heard that come up a couple of times. I'm just going to tell you now, the society is the weird little meetings that they've had. They're all in this society. They just call it the society. I don't think it has an actual name. Victor then decides to call all the Anubis kids back to the house because he wants them to watch live who stole the pieces from his safe, which is this girl right here. But luckily, Mr. Fabian, in protecting of his woman Nina, switched out the footage. So Victor actually never catches who it is. After Victor leaves to go bully the children of Anubis' house, Daphne and Sweet decide to talk about what they should do. And Daphne's basically like, I'm gonna go meet Rufus. And Victor cannot go know about this. Like, it's none of his business. He doesn't need to know. He's getting far too in this society thing. And then Rufus calls and is like, meet me, 10 o'clock, clearing in the woods. After missing all day, Miss Nina decides to try to call Patricia's cell phone. And when she doesn't get a response, they go to Trudy and they're like, hey, Trudy, did Patricia ever come back? And Trudy tells some lie that Victor made up. I think he says, like, her aunt and uncle wanted to keep her out all day or something. But Sabuna does not believe this. So Nina and Amber go into Patricia's room to find the card that Joy left for her. And they find the little message, clearing in the woods, 9. So they decide that they are going to go see if Patricia is at that clearing or if there's any clues as to where Patricia has been. And Fabian plans to go back to the school and learn more about the pieces that they found at the safe. Like, everybody is doing something. We love when people hustle. We love when people do their jobs. Cut back to Miss Patricia, who's still being held captive by Mr. Rufus. And she's kind of snarky. She, I believe, tried to make an escape. And he gave her food. At least he's somewhat treating her right. And she reveals that when he started to drive off from the clearing, she left one of her rings there so that if anyone went looking for her there, they would know that she was absolutely at the clearing at some point recently. At this point, Nina and Amber head out, and we get to Mr. Fabian, who is at the school, and he's like in the science lab, I believe. And while he's like walking out to go back to Anubis' house with his research, he overhears Sweet and Daphne talking about the whole Patricia disappearance. He overhears Daphne saying that Rufus is only interested in protecting their secrets, and that's why he won't give in to Rufus's demand. Like I said, he like doesn't care about anything else. And Mr. Sweet kind of agrees with him. Andrews then reminds Mr. Sweet, the dean, the principal of this school, that they need to keep the school in a positive light, and children disappearing under mysterious circumstances isn't good for them. She also says that without the school, their secret is worthless, and that she's willing to do anything to get Patricia away from Rufus Zeno. And the interesting thing here is that it kind of like hints, she calls her my girl at some point, which was really interesting. And I tried to look up on the Wikia if Patricia and Daphne had any like connection, because there was like no build up, and I was like, is it familiar or something? No. I guess for some reason she just really cares about Patricia, and I don't know why. Just as Nina and Amber arrive at the clearing, they see Rufus looking around for something, which he's looking around for Patricia's ring, and he finds it, and he's like, slay, and decides to drive off in his van back to the warehouse where he's keeping Patricia, but his van is leaking oil. Yeah, his van is leaking oil because he doesn't upkeep anything, I guess. So Nina and Amber decide to follow the oil trail to the warehouse where Patricia is being kept. Kids, do not do this. It's not a smart idea. Contact the police, even though they are not credible in Anubis land. Fabian then returns home to dinner time, only to find that his girlfriend, in my mind, Nina, and her bestie, Amber, have not returned from their little outing in the woods. Rufus returns back to the place that he's keeping Patricia, and when she's trying to ask him all these questions, he basically grabs her again and forces her into the van and takes her to the meeting with Miss Andrews, just as Nina and Amber arrive at the place that she is being kept. There's fresh food and stuff. They're looking around, and then Patricia screams out, Nina! And they turn around to see Rufus and Patricia in the doorway of the warehouse, to which he closes and locks them in and decides to head to the meeting with Miss Andrews. So now, instead of Patricia being kidnapped, well, she's still kidnapped, being kept in this warehouse, Nina and Amber are kept in this warehouse. So, their plan worked out really great. Because Nina and Amber were not at dinner and they have yet to return, Fabian gets suspicious and heads into their room to find the card that Joy left Patricia the night of the play, and he reads that it's the clearing in the woods, so he takes it upon himself to get on his little bicycle and go to the clearing in the woods. He also finds the oil tracks that Rufus's van left and decides to follow that to the warehouse. Sweet, because he is a bitch boy, decides to give up the secret plan to Victor and reveal that Andrews is going to meet Rufus at 10 o'clock. That Rufus wanted the elixir for Miss Patricia, a fair trade, which he seems to think. Their plan is to actually give him a fake elixir, and he also wanted the address to where Joy is, and they are also going to give him a fake address. Sweet wants to go after Miss Andrews to make sure that everything goes okay, and because Victor's the only one who does anything ever, but Victor calls her a necessary sacrifice. That man does not give a fuck. Does not give a fuck. It's quite crazy how much of a fuck he does not give. I think we should actually all aspire to be on the level that Victor is at. After Fabian rescues Nina and Amber, they head to the school to go confront Miss Andrews before she heads to her meeting with Rufus, and they're like, you should let us help you. Like, we know stuff. And she's like, no, no, no. It's far too dangerous. And they're like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. We know more than you think we know. And Miss Andrews won't let them come, but they're kind of annoying. Kidding. But they won't be stopped by Miss Andrews telling them no, because obviously they're still figuring out this treasure hunt. So anytime anyone has said no to them, they've never stopped. And they still follow her to the meeting where Patricia is going to be traded for the fake elixir and the fake address to Joy. It is now the time of the switcheroo to get Patricia back and for Rufus to get a fake address to Joy and a fake elixir. And Miss Andrews kind of applauds Rufus for faking his death to get away from the society. So that's how he got there. He was a part of this society at once, but he decided to fake his death. Anyways, because Miss Andrews is stupid, the plan does not go according to how she thought it was going to. So Rufus takes the fake elixir and the fake address, and he's like, yeah, bye, see you later. But luckily, Nina, Fabian, and Amber are a little smarter. And while Miss Andrews was talking it up with Rufus while they were chit-chatting, getting to know each other, they were breaking Patricia out the back of his van. So when he flies off, Miss Andrews is like, no, no, Patricia. And then it pulls back to reveal all of them, and they're like, we got her, we got her. So the next day at school, everyone is back and they are safe. Victor comes to our little Sabuna over here, and he's like, come with me if you want to know the truth. Because remember, they revealed to Miss Andrews that they know a lot more than they think, and that truth is a video call with Joy. So we're just getting so much joy now. So Joy says that the night that she came to the play, she wanted to see Patricia, but she wasn't allowed to because it was too dangerous. And when Patricia asks Joy if she'll ever return, the question is kind of avoided altogether. Like, Joy will not answer it. Nina then decides to ask a question, even though she knows nothing about Joy, and she asks where she is, and Victor's like, yes, no, she doesn't want to tell you that. She actually doesn't want to tell you that, so stop asking. Patricia then asks if Joy is returning again, and Joy finally reveals that she's not going to. She's not going to because someone is after her dad and her family because of something he did, but she can't reveal too much. Her dad then cuts the video call short. She ends it by saying that the teachers and Victor are protecting her and that the kids, Sabuna, should trust them. Her father then further reveals the information that she kind of alluded to, and he says that Rufus Zeno is after him because he works for the government and he has information that Zeno wants. Victor then decides to put the cherry on top of this whole thing and ban the Sabuna kids from leaving the house. So after class is done, they must come directly back to Anubis because of Rufus's looming threat. Nina, though, my smart girl Nina, she doubts that Victor is actually as good as he's pretending to be, but because Fabian, Amber, and Patricia have history with Joy, they trust her and say that everything is probably fine. But we actually get to see a conversation between Victor and Mr. Mercer, that's Joy's dad, happen. Mr. Mercer asks Victor if he thinks the kids bought this whole thing, meaning that everything Joy has said and he has said is a lie, and Victor says they absolutely bought it and that there should be no more contact as to not distract the chosen one. Turns out Nina's not the only one who's kind of weary of the adults. Fabian is still kind of on, and Joy said that they could trust all the teachers, and decides to take all of the puzzle pieces that they have so far to school with him just to keep them safe. Out to head to the main school building, Trudy stops him and asks if he can give Victor the mail that they got today, and in the mail is a letter from the hospital, which could or could not be, which it definitely is the toxicology report. I'm looking over here like he's over here, is the toxicology report for Alfie, which is basically going to reveal what the elixir is. Remember, Alfie drank the elixir, it sent him to the hospital because he had like an allergic reaction or whatever, and Nina gave them the bottle so that they could test it to see what it was because the kids wanted to test it anyways. So Fabian, he starts a little plan, and luckily Mr. Victor is heading to go speak to Mr. Sweet and Miss Daphne, you know, his besties in the society, to talk about how he thinks that everything is under control now because the Sabuna kids got to speak to Joy. We know what she said is a lie, but they don't know that. So he's like, yep, everything's control. You don't need to worry about anything. And Daphne's like, but we don't have the ink. We don't have the ink. And Victor's like, yeah, don't worry about that. I think Rufus stole it, but he doesn't have everything he needs. Back to Nina and Fabian. They are sneaking into Mr. Victor's office. And Nina's like, hey, look at these chips I found with all of our names on it. Isn't that weird? Isn't that suspicious? Isn't that crazy? And Fabian's like, yeah, that is. But also, let's find that toxicology report. And they look at the toxicology report to see what it was, and turns out the elixir of life is just an herbal concoction. He just drank an herbal concoction. They were told cleaning fluid, and now they're being told it was an herbal concoction. But no surprise there, Victor is the biggest liar in the whole house. He loves to lie. Little Larry Lies a Lot is his other name. And yes, I stole that from iCarly because I was watching iCarly last night. While digging around too, Nina finds a picture of Victor and his father from, I believe, like 1952, which confirms that Victor might not have been the one speaking on the cylinders. It could have been his father because they look exactly alike. So yes, Victor's probably drinking the immortality potion, but they don't think he's nearly as old as he was portrayed to be, like living over many years like his father. So this basically reveals that everything that they thought they knew is unraveling. They thought Victor was this like immortal being, like literally a vampire like they thought he was. They thought Victor was this immortal being. They don't know what these pieces are, and the elixir of life is just some herbal concoction. Like if there is a worse place to be right now, it's to have most of the pieces that needed to be revealed up here revealed and no direction to go in. Like, they feel like they wasted their time. Unfortunately, my girl Amber and Patricia, think that because of all of this and because what have Joy said and because everything that they found that kind of unraveled everything that they thought they knew, they feel like they should give up. And their negative Nancy energy gets to my girl Nina. 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 And she's kind of considering giving up too. It's very unfortunate. They're still in the school, by the way. They're not having this conversation in Anubis' house. Like, Nina and Fabian returned back to the school to tell everyone this. And Mrs. Andrews calls a meeting of all of the students. And for some weird reason, Fabian's like, I can't take my messenger bag, and puts it on top of their lockers. And when he does so, one of our twin pieces falls out onto the floor. Luckily, though, don't you worry, you guys. Alfie picks it up. Alfie picks it up. So slay of him. Thank you so much, Alfie. And Fabian does not notice that piece is missing until he gets back to the house that night. And he's like extremely worried. I think it's mostly because he doesn't want to disappoint Nina, but also because every teacher in the school is on their back. So that means potentially the piece they got back that they didn't know they needed could be in the hands of somebody who they don't want to have it, like Victor or Sweet or Winkler or Andrews. Like, there's so many possibilities to things that could be going wrong, and they already feel so down because they thought they knew everything and now they know nothing, and Fabian lost a fucking piece. Nina has a tendency to have a little dreamy dream. She has dreams here and there that I haven't mentioned, but this one is important. So Nina, she's on both sides. So Nina is having a dream where she's visited by Sarah, and Sarah's like, girl, don't give up. This is not the end, this is just the beginning, and tells her a series of numbers. The numbers are 11, 01, 01, 19, 15, and then she kind of like disappears into the night. She's like, peace, see you later. And this is one of my favorite scenes as well because Nina like wakes up from the dream. She's like, Sarah? And all you see is this poster of Taylor Lautner. I just loved it. It made me giggle. I can't lie, it made me giggle. I giggled a little bit, Nina, because she is a queen and she loves Fabian, decides to go to Fabian with all of this information. Also, probably because he's one of the only people in Sabuna who didn't want to give up. She tells him about the numbers, and he tells her that he lost the twin piece. I don't know which piece it was. They're exactly the same. But he reveals, he was like, yeah, I lost that. And Nina's like, wow, you can't trust anybody in this house. That day in class, suspiciously, weirdly, don't know whyly, Mr. Winkler is teaching about numerology, which is the belief that any person can be reduced down to divine numbers. Patricia's still reeling from her kidnapping by Mr. Rufusino over there, has a little freak out in class, and she goes to like hide. She ends up being found by Alfie, who's also having these nightmares, flashbacks to the events that he witnessed down in the cellar. So they sit in the laundry room and they talk and they connect and they're like, we're gonna be there for each other. And Alfie's like, hey, can I tell you a little secret, secret? And Patricia's like, yeah. And Alfie reveals the twin piece that he has to her and is like, it's from aliens. Like, you won't believe it. It's from aliens. And Patricia's like, uh-huh. Yeah. She steals the piece back from Alfie and gives it to Fabian. So luckily now the piece is back in Fabian's sweet, sweet hands. Unreliable, but very sweet hands. So that plotline got wrapped up pretty easily, but that was just a nice little jump scare for them. And it kind of made them like realize how truly unsafe the environment they are in. And I mean, like, for the treasure, like, they actually have to keep this stuff a secret and they cannot slip up, not even once. Fabian. So when Nina came to Fabian about the numbers that Sarah had told her in her dream, Fabian thinks that they might possibly be coordinates, but that plan turns out to be a bust. So it turns out actually those numbers that Sarah gave Nina are her numerology and her date of birth. And Nina kind of theorizes that maybe, just maybe, you can input the numbers into these little things. They have like little things that can twist. You never really see them up close, but you can like twist and put numbers in them. So Nina says, why not put Sarah's numerology in there? Also, weirdly enough, both Nina and Sarah numerology numbers are 11. So, like, divine intervention right there. Where's their connection? Wah, wah. Like, Nina then decides to put Sarah's numerology into one of these pieces, which causes the house to shake. And she's like, oh my god, The house is alive. When Nina put in the numerology of Sarah into one of the pieces, not only did the house shake, but it revealed a clue. My father's father stands tall, his face and hands together, turns circles around Isis and Osiris, and Horus the sun reveals me. And he theorizes that maybe, just maybe, you can put the same numbers into the other piece, but this is a dud. It doesn't work out. It does not reveal anything. But with this clue, Mr. Fabian decides to spend his day trying to figure out what it means, and he figures that the potential meaning of this could be with a clock. But because the Sabuna kids are the loudest people on the entire face of the earth, he draws the attention of Alfie while trying to figure out the clue on the little thing, like add little numbers on there. And Alfie ends up catching him, and Alfie sees his piece and he's like, yo, that's my alien that's my alien artifact. And Fabian's like, actually, no, it's not. Actually, no, it's not. Which leads to Alfie chasing Fabian back to Anubis' house because Fabian wants to go there. There's like a clock in the foyer. Everything is in the foyer. Everything has been hard to find. Literally everything has been in the foyer. Fabian luckily makes it back to Anubis without being caught by Alfie and attempts to like twist the hands of the clock to reveal something, but he ends up breaking the clock. And then Alfie runs in and being loud yet again, both of them being loud again. Loud is consistently a thing. I know they say Americans are loud. These British children, besides Nina, because she's not British, are loud and they get like in a little scuffle, which draws the attention of Victor. Fabian successfully hides from Victor, but Alfie, while trying to figure out the clock thing, gets caught with the broken piece in his hand, and Victor's like, you're gonna go do a chore. And so he gets dragged off to do a chore. Alfie doesn't get the piece back. Victor doesn't catch Fabian. And Fabian goes back to opening the clock. And while he's opening the clock, Miss Nina walks in and helps him with it. She kind of looks out. And when they open the clock, like a little section in the back of the clock opens to reveal nothing. This is a really great few episodes for Sabuna. They are struggling very hard. I sympathize with them. It is okay to struggle. After not finding a piece but being able to open a secret location, Sabuna decides to meet, I'm going to believe, in Nina and Amber's room. And while they're getting ready to talk, Alfie bursts in and he's like, yeah, what the fuck is going on? Why do you guys have an alien piece? What are you doing sneaking around? What are all these little meetings that you're having? And Fabian completely lies out of his butt. And he's like, you're right, it is aliens. Like, you said that was your alien artifact. It is aliens. And they do this to protect him because all of this stuff is very dangerous. And Alfie already got hurt. Like, literally, he was sent to the hospital. So he doesn't need to be involved in this stuff. But he's mad suspicious because these kids are really bad at being quiet and really bad actually at hiding anything ever. And so he kind of wants in. After convincing Alfie that it is in fact aliens, he leaves and Sabuna gets back to their little meeting, their little Sabuna Wuna meeting, and they theorize that the reason the little area in the clock was empty was because Victor might have had the piece that they had. They think that this twin piece that was already in Victor's safe was the piece in the clock, and somehow, someway, Victor had found it. But Nina's like, don't worry, you guys. The clue must still be involved with it because Victor doesn't have the numbers. And they're like, what numbers? And she's like, mine. When Nina inserts her numbers into the next piece, the house doesn't shake, but the wall has a message review that says, awaken the voice. And for some stupid fucking reason, Fabian looks at Nina and he's like, what does that mean? This leads Nina to going to Miss Sarah because Sarah has been giving us all of these cryptic messages about the Anubis house. And when she goes to Sarah, Sarah's like, I've disappointed my father. I couldn't find them. Yeah, again, she tells Miss Nina that she can't find them because she has the power. She also says, in helping Nina, that she hears it. She hears the whispering of the house. And when Nina kind of tries to press her about the evilness of the house, Sarah turns around and she's automatically like, no, I never said the house was evil. Never said that. I meant the guardian of the house was evil. Sarah then also says that she was tricked and that the people who did it just wanted the secret. She also says that she doesn't want to live forever. After Alfie was told by Fabian that they were, in fact, chasing aliens, Alfie takes it upon himself to tackle Miss Andrews in class one day. So Patricia and Fabian are like, okay, we've got to tell him the truth, and decide to let Alfie in on all of their Sabuna secrets. In turn with the message and Sarah saying that she can hear the whispers of the house, Una decides to go to the attic to listen to the house, and she's like, talk to me, and stands there, and a box falls over, and when she goes digging around in that box, she finds a newspaper, and this newspaper reveals that Victor, Rufus, yeah, that's Rufus. Rufus and Sarah are the ones who actually started the school where Anubis takes place. Because remember, Sarah lived here and she owned the house and whatever. So all three of them, ooh, their little thing goes under. Started the school together. But there's also a picture of them in the paper too, which reveals that Victor and Rufus have not aged, but Miss Sarah has. So now they're back on track, okay? The elixir somehow does exist. Victor and Rufus both had their hands. Why do I keep doing that? Victor and Rufus both had their hands on it at some point, but we know Miss Sarah has never drank a single drop from it. Nina, excited that she found some confirmation that they, in fact, were right about the elixir and everything, goes down to her room to talk to Patricia and Fabian about the paper that she found. And Alfie comes into the room, and Nina's like, we're like not talking about anything, but Patricia and Fabian do tell her that they told Alfie everything. So he knows everything. He's like basically in on it at some point. And since the paper confirms that Rufus and Victor have potentially been drinking the elixir of life, they make a plan to go down to the cellar again to get a sample of said elixir. And Mr. Alfie, he is sick of being left out, okay? He wants to be on the know. And because Sabina owes him for poisoning him with whatever was in that bottle, he's like, I'll go down the cellar. And Nina doesn't really want him to, but she relents because, she's got to do right by Alfie after she did literally almost kill him. So they agree that him and Fabian will go down to the cellar that night to get a sample of said elixir. It's the night of the cellar trip between Fabian and Alfie, and they go down there together. And while Fabian is attempting to collect a sample, Alfie comes into contact with one of the hoods that he saw the night that he witnessed the society's meeting down in the cellar. And he has this flashback, which leads him to freak out and kind of crash into Fabian, which causes Fabian to drop the elixir sample and alert, like it made too much noise. So now they're scared that Victor will come down to the cellar, meaning they have to go back upstairs and then have to go down to the cellar again to get another sample another night. Victor finds out that there are 7 ink pieces. I don't really remember. I don't have this in my notes. He figures it out. He's so smart. He's such a smart guy. And he says it would be easier to find them if they had the key. But Sweet counters that by saying that the key should be dead by now. Who is the key? What is the key? We don't know the key. Winkler walks in while they're having this little meeting, and Victor's like, "Yo, so that play that those kids wrote, how how did they write that?" And Winkler reveals that Nina, Fabian, and Amber had somebody at the museum, the local museum in the area, the museum, named Sarah, helping them come up with all of the facts for the play. Sabina and Alfie meet up, and he basically reveals that going down to the cellar helped him remember everything that he saw that night. Remember, he can only remember bits and pieces after hitting his head against a locker. Well, now he remembers everything. He mentions seeing teachers and some other people, like we know Sergeant Roebuck and the nurse from the hospital. They were chanting, they were wearing robes. The Chosen One was mentioned, and Victor drank something from a skull. He also remembers a dog mask that haunts him in his nightmares, the nightmares he was telling Patricia about, and something about an ankh. And Nina connects that to the cup of ankh, so she also believes that the society is also looking for the cup of ankh now. Victor is on detective mode. He is in his Sherlock Holmes era and calls up the museum and asks if they have a woman named Sarah there. And they're like, yeah, actually, no, we don't. So he then decides to check out their signing out book to see who the kids have been visiting and sees that Nina regularly goes out to visit a woman named Emily Grant. When he asks Trudy about this, she tells him that it is a woman from the old people home across the way, the woman who visited her, I believe, in the pilot episode of House of Anubis. And Victor kind of gets a little suspicious. And he's like, Who is Emily Grant? I must investigate. Give him a magnifying glass and the hat that Sherlock Holmes wears. Benedict Cumberbatch only wore it once, so I don't remember the name of it too much. Lord Almighty. In tandem with the clue that they received from the twin piece with Nina's numerology, Awaken the Voice, Nina believes that they have to go back to the attic to get the cylinders to listen to them again, but not actually listen to the recordings, look at the cylinders. While looking at the cylinders and kind of getting some of them ready to listen to on the player, Nina notices that one of them is blank. Remember when I said that they had like three of them? Two of them had like grooves in them to make noise, and one of them was completely blank. Well, Nina's like, that's kind of weird, and goes to pop it open. The clue they receive with the cylinder is to find the secret of the past, look beyond this world through glass. And Victor heads down to visit Miss Sarah, but luckily she is sleeping, and he's like, yo, you should let her come visit Anubis. She used to live there, and the caretaker for Sarah is like, you know what, that sounds like a good idea. I'll ask her when she wakes up. Because the clue revealed talks about glass, Nina and Fabian think that the next riddle or next piece could be behind the mirror. And while checking the mirror, Victor approaches Nina and he's like, yeah, you can't go visit Emily anymore. All that little running around, can't do it. Can't do it during the school day. You can only do it during the weekends, okay? And Nina was like, yeah, okay. So Nina also begins to worry that Victor might know about Sarah because it's a little suspicious that she's been able to visit her this entire time, but now suddenly Victor is sniffing on their trail a little bit, which they are aware that he knows what they are doing, and she's worried that Sarah is going to be found out because remember, Sarah has alluded to a bunch of bad stuff happening with Victor, so Nina wants to protect her. And Miss Sarah, the day comes, she finally gets to come back to Anubis' house. She's very excited because she's like, she's having all these flashbacks this entire time. And when she sees Victor, she freaks out and calls him a murderer right in front of her caretaker. And he just kind of like laughs it off. He's like, she's so funny. Like, no, dude, she's calling you a murderer. She then remembers him as a friend instead of a foe because Victor and his dad look exactly alike. But then she starts to remember little Victor, and he's like, yes, girl, like relive those good times. And they start to walk around the house so she can have all of these memories of when they were a kid and they used to play. And because for some reason Sarah seems to be very in tune with the house, remember she said she could hear it whisper? She said, it is crying, the house is crying. And Victor's like, yeah, it is because it lost something. It lost something, girl, and you know how to find it. I know you know how to find it. And we cut to this flashback of Victor being confronted by his father, and his father is basically telling him that he has to befriend Sarah so that he, Victor, can figure out where the cup of Ankh is. And that turned Victor into kind of a mean person. So it's kind of alluded to that his dad is a little bit abusive, a really strong topic to go for in a Nickelodeon show, but at the same time, they were also talking about murder, so I guess it's not that bad. Young Victor then decides to confront young Sarah about the cup, and she says that she doesn't know. And this kind of breaks Sarah out of this like nostalgia. She remembers her dread, and she's like, and she like, she like clocks in, she locks in, and she's like, funny thing is, I actually really don't know where that cup is. You thought I did, and I don't know where anything is. She's like, they knew you were going to try to get it out of me, so they never told me where the cup is. Unfortunately, though, Miss Sarah did leave a scarf behind, and when Nina comes home from school that night, she sees it, and now she is aware that Mr. Victor does in fact know that Miss Sarah is alive. That night, Sarah visits Nina in her dream, and she basically says goodbye and that it is Nina's quest now. She also tells Nina not to give up, but she must go now, and we find out the next morning that Miss Sarah has died. After Trudy had told Nina that Sarah had passed, she also tells her that Sarah had wanted to leave her something, so Nina has to go to the place where Sarah was staying to receive a box, and her caretaker, who is named Miss Mulligan, this is the first time I wrote her name down in my notes, reveals that Sarah had a nephew, but when Nina had dropped Sarah off in the first episode, it was said that they didn't know her history. So it's a very interesting tidbit to learn this late in the game, especially after she died. that Sarah had some living family because we were led to believe that one, she's an only child, and two, the Frobisher Smythes, her parents, her only relatives that we know of, were dead. She then gives Nina this box, and she said that Sarah said she would know what to do with it and that it was her turn, kind of like what she said in her dream. Nina brings the box home, which is filled with a bunch of books, and she uses this as a moment to tell Sabuna that Miss Sarah is dead. They all feel bad for her, but mostly Fabian because that's his girl. If Fabian was up on this board, they would be a nice little pink line. I would go buy pink yarn specifically to connect him and Nina because I love them. While digging in the box, Patricia finds a piece of paper that says that when the Frobisher Smythes, there's no picture of them, I'm looking at the house, the Frobisher Smythes died, Rufus's parents became the legal guardians of Sarah. Also in this box was Rufus's birth certificate, which confirms that he was born in 1915, which is the same year that Sarah was born, meaning that Rufus should either be dead or dying. He should be this old. He should be this old, but he is not. Mm-mm. Therefore, again, yet confirming that he is drinking the elixir. After hearing the news of Sarah's passing, Victor goes down to the cellar to hold this little ritual to Isis, and he's like, are the scales going to tip against the Anubis kids when the chosen hour approaches? And the scales do tip against them. So these little pieces are used to like signify their names for the tipping of the scales. There are also coins to represent the people in the society, which Victor is a part of. So it's basically like being like the Anubis kids are going to lose out to the society, and he is overjoyed. That's the happiest I've ever seen that man in his life. In remembering the things about the night that he witnessed the society's meeting, Alfie reveals to Patricia that he saw Joy's dad there that night, and Patricia's automatically like, no fucking way. So while they're arguing about it, they go into Nina and Amber's room to settle this debate. This could mean that Joy is potentially more involved than she said she was, but Patricia doesn't want to believe it. But that's kind of like the thing that they're holding up in the air right now. They're kind of like, maybe Joy's a little more involved because we know that her dad and Victor asked her to lie to Sabuna after the video call. It is also the day of the funeral for Miss Sarah, which Nina attends, but so does Victor. And there's this B plot going on with Mara because you have to give Mara something to do. And she's like running for class president. Anyways, she's running against Amber, and Jerome paid some kid to rig the election in Mara's favor. And Amber gets upset about this, and she goes to tell Mr. Sweet about the rigged election. And she walks in on this little meeting of Daphne, Andrews, and Mr. Winkler. And when she goes to tell Fabian about this, Fabian sneaks into the girls' restroom and looks through the same little peephole that Patricia looked through a few episodes earlier to listen in on their conversation. Andrews reveals that they might not be able to find the cup of ink now that the key is dead. So this lovely little key that we were talking about earlier is Miss Sarah. She's the key. That's not straight. Whatever. Miss Sarah's the key. There we go. There's our second label. Miss Sarah is the key. And they also say that Victor went to Sarah's funeral to find any clues to where the cup of ink could be, even though Sarah has told Victor so many times that she does not know where this goddamn cup is. This man is relentless. They also tell Mr. Winkler that the chosen hour approaches and he needs to learn all their secrets, and that tonight he will be officially initiated into the society. They really dragged to their feet. Okay, we've seen 2 meetings of these people, and they still haven't initiated this man. Welcome to the club, Mr. Winkler. After the funeral, everyone heads back to the home where Sarah was staying, and they're all at, I believe it's like the memorial or something. I don't know. I don't go to a lot of funerals. And Victor decides to go check Sarah's room for any clues, but turns out Rufus is already there and he's already digging around. And these boys, they have to tip it out, okay? They have to tip it out. Victor then accuses Rufus of stealing the twin pieces that he had in his safe, but Rufus is like, no, I never did that. Actually, let's make a different deal. He tries to con him into a different deal, and Victor's like, no, we already made a deal years ago when we conned Sarah out of Anubis. So, like, the whole school thing was just like a little con to relinquish Sarah of the Anubis house so that Rufus and Victor had free reign to search for the cup as they pleased. Rufus then asks Victor where the ink pieces are, where the chosen one is, and he reveals that joy alone is useless. Victor then mentions that he already has the 7 acolytes and that they're going to tip the scale, but Rufus is like, you don't even fucking know what that means. I do, but you don't even know what that fucking means. Miss Mulligan then catches Victor and Rufus in Sarah's room, and Miss Mulligan calls Rufus her nephew. So this nephew that was suddenly mentioned earlier is Rufus, which is mad suspicious. So for some random fucking reason, Rufus put Sarah in this home and like didn't tell anybody about it. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but anyways, Rufus, is the nephew of Emily Grant Sarah. After the funeral and after the memorial and after that whole tiff, Nina goes to Sabuna to reveal the information that she found out while listening in on the tiffs between Rufus and Victor. She reveals that Rufus is the betrayer. She reveals that Rufus is the betrayer because I believe Victor called him that while they were fighting. She also reveals that Joy is the chosen one. We already knew this, but Sabuna didn't know this, and now they know Joy is the chosen one. And she also reveals that Victor thinks Rufus has the pieces that they have. She also starts to think the puzzle pieces that they currently have in their possession are more than they think. Fabian then decides to tell them what he overheard with the little meeting between Sweet, Daphne, and Jason, that Jason is getting fully initiated into the society tonight and that they need to go back down to the cellar to view it. Victor then decides to bully a child again and confront Nina about what she knows about Sarah, and Nina plays helpless. He calls her a bad liar earlier in the season, which is crazy because she sold the fuck out of this lie, my personal opinion. In reality, he doesn't believe her, but she's like, you mean Emily. Because at the end of his tiff with Rufus, she was caught in the doorway, so he thinks that she heard anything in the house. He's like, what did you hear? And she's like, nothing. I heard nothing. And then after that, Victor receives this mysterious package. Sabina now with Alfie is discussing the plan of looking in on the meeting happening in the cellar of the teachers, the initiation of Mr. Winkler into the society. And while they're talking, Jerome catches them. He's been catching on. I've mentioned this a couple of times. Jerome has kind of been catching on to what everyone has been saying, and he is growing increasingly suspicious of the Sabina members over here. No one will tell him the truth, though, not even Alfie, his best friend, which is starting to tick Jerome off. The plan is Amber, Fabian, Nina, and Alfie will all go down to the cellar to witness what is going on, and Patricia is going to stay upstairs. And the Sabina kids aren't really sure if the cellar is safe to go down to yet because they don't know if the society members have completely arrived or if Victor's down there getting everything ready. But the house does open the cellar door, so that's kind of like the house speaking, like Miss Sarah has been saying all along. As the society members come in, Patricia notices that Joy's dad is there, just like Alfie had said earlier in the episode. So now she can truly believe that Joy's dad is in on this somehow, but luckily Joy is not there, so it kind of quiets her nerves that Joy may know more than she was originally putting on. During the ritual, Jason is finally brought in to how the elixir of life works and reveals that Victor is living proof of the elixir working, and it is revealed that Victor's dad actually knew how to make the elixir of life, and he used to make it for everybody, but he died before he could tell Victor how to make it. So now they really need the cup of immortality to make sure that the little bit that they have left lasts. He also says that when they tip the scales, they will be immortal. Remember these little chips? And chips with the names of the society members are on the scales, so it'll tip against the Sabuna kids, or it'll tip against the Anubis kids' favor and give eternal life to the teachers who are part of the society. Patricia sneaks into Victor's office and she video chats Miss Joy. And Joy's like, what's going on? And Patricia's like, we need to stay in contact. Like, we know you're the chosen one, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And Joy reveals that she doesn't want to be the chosen one. Her dad is forcing her. And she's only the chosen one because she was born on the 7th day of the 7th month at the 7th hour. Patricia then tells Joy that she needs to get a burner phone so they can stay in contact to make sure that everything is okay. And Jerome, suspicious from the conversation he heard earlier, wakes up to see Alfie gone from his bed, then goes to Fabian's room and finds Fabian gone from his bed and becomes even more suspicious of what the Sabuna kids are doing behind his back. During the ritual, we find out what that mysterious package that Victor received was. It was a snake used in this ritual, and they like use the venom to make something to be drank out of a skull. And when Victor drinks out of the skull, Amber yells, "Yuck!" catching his attention. However, when he goes to investigate to see what the noise was, he comes in contact with the rat and assumes that's what made the noise, so Sabuna is in fact in the clear. The next day, Sabuna decides to hold a meeting yet again out in the woods, and Nina emphasizes that their main point now should be finding the cup before the teachers do, before the society does, because their plans to tip the scales of life do not align with what Sarah wants her to do and what the kids think are right. So she says that they need to start focusing on all of these pieces that they have and figuring out this riddle. Fabian repeats the riddle for everyone to kind of brainstorm what they think it means. And when Nina reveals that a mirror was a bust, Amber's like, yeah, because you can't look through mirrors. Yet again, being the smart queen that she is. And this kind of gets the thinking bubbles brewing in Nina's mind. So, this whole time that the kids have been sneaking around and worrying about the teachers, Nina has been hiding all of these pieces up in the secret room in the attic that they found in the pilot episode. So, when she goes back to sneak up there again to hide all of these again, she gets caught by Victor. And she comes up with this lie, but it's not important. All we need to know is that Victor knows that Nina is sneaking into the attic where she's not supposed to go. At school, Jerome kind of confronts Alfie about everything that's going on and lies about everything that he knows. He's just rehashing everything that he heard Alfie or one of the other Sabuna members say during a meeting. So Alfie starts to believe that he might know more than Jerome is initially letting on, and kind of maybe starting to trust him with all of their Anubis secrets. He then kind of blackmails him into telling him everything. So anything that Alfie learns, he must tell Jerome so that he knows what's going on. Nina then returns to the school to like run into Sabuna and tell them that she had been caught by Victor, but of course Jerome is in the room. These kids are not good at hiding anything. I don't know how they got this far. They got this far, and when she's like, "Oh my god, Victor caught me," Jerome's like, he does that eyebrow thing. I can't do it. But he's like so suspicious. He does his little evil eyebrow thing, and she's like, "Oh, oh, actually, let's go discuss this in another room." While they're discussing it in another room, Jerome remembers them talking about this Rufusino Renee Zeldman kind of figure. So he gets on Patricia's phone, which is like sitting out. She left it behind, and finds Rufus's number and takes it so that he can find out more information about what they're doing. Nina reveals that she got caught sneaking out of the attic by Victor, and then also tells them that the pieces are out of commission for the time being because he padlocked it because he was so suspicious of what she was doing. And while they're making this little meeting about how Victor caught them and how the pieces are now locked behind a door, Rufus and Jerome are setting up a meeting. And Jerome attends this meeting, and he again uses the same trick he used on Alfie, where he like talks all this hot shit about what he heard through the conversations he's heard from Sabuna. And Rufus is like, like maybe I can use this. So now Rufus is paying Jerome to get him the secrets that Sabuna knows, because he also wants the cup of ink, even though Jerome knows fuck all but what he's hearing through Sabuna conversations and what he's hoping Alfie will tell him. That night, Nina and Fabian are stargazing, normal friend things. And Fabian kind of has this realization that maybe, just maybe, the clue is a telescope, which is in like the den of Anubis house. So him and Nina like excitedly run downstairs to go look through the telescope to see if there's a clue. They go down to the living room, the den, and they're looking through the telescope, and at first they find nothing, but once they focus it more, it reveals a new riddle. Unleash the power and light the way. Find the demisphere hidden below. So we have our new riddle. We're getting very close to the reveal of this. And Nina and Fabian are so excited, but Victor catches them and he's like, yeah, you guys would pick like a cloudy night to stargaze, and looks through the telescope, but luckily doesn't see the message. So Nina and Fabian are off somewhat scot-free. But this does not make him any less suspicious than he already is. Like, there are problems a brewing. Victor is catching on. Now Rufus is working with somebody to find the treasure. Like, Sabuna, they are being hunted like dogs. It is crazy. And by one of their own. I mean, Jerome's not Sabuna, but he is an Anubis kid. It's Sabuna is informed of the riddle that they found, and they start to like spitball what that could mean. And they figure that because it uses the word below, it might be in the cellar, which they have to go back down to anyways because they still don't have a sample of the elixir. And so they draw straws to see who will go down, and Alfie draws the short straw, meaning Alfie will yet again go down to the cellar where he has trauma. Luckily, Patricia, she's so sweet, so kind, so smart, except she's not sweet or kind. She's so smart. She gets Savannah walkie talkies. Why they aren't using their cell phones, I don't know. But they're going to use walkie talkies so that they can no longer be loud. Because as we know, I have a problem with their history of being loud. They are incredibly loud all the time, always talking, always getting caught. And to prevent this and to communicate while somebody is downstairs and they are on the lookout upstairs, they're going to use walkie talkies. It's also decided that tonight will be the night they go back down to the cellar because Victor is going to be out till late doing what? I don't know. But he's going to be out till late, so Alfie will make the venture down to collect the sample of the elixir. Jerome yet again tries to get information out of Alfie, but Alfie wants the trust of Sabuna so badly that he won't give him information. So he like kind of makes a plan, Jerome, he makes a plan to stay up all night so that Alfie can't leave to go do whatever he needs to do. But luckily Jerome falls asleep and Alfie is able to sneak out, except Jerome didn't fall asleep. He was faking it. And while Alfie is collecting all of this stuff to go down to the cellar, Jerome sneaks the walkie talkie out of his book bag so that he cannot be in communication with Sabuna and so that Jerome can hear what they are saying over the walkie talkie. So Alfie heads down because it is all clear, but not too long after he heads down, Victor arrives back home and Sabuna tries to contact him through the walkie talkie. And because Jerome has it, he's not getting the message that Victor is in fact there. And Jerome, playing a little tricky trick, pretends that he is Alfie and says that he made it back to his room safely. So Sabuna's like, great, wonderful. In reality, Alfie is downstairs, and Victor decides to head down to the cellar. So Alfie's able to hide and luckily not get caught in the cellar, but he does have to come back up. And while he's sneaking around, he is yet again loud on his way back to his room, loud, and almost gets caught. So Victor is kind of alerted to the loud noise. So Alfie hides in the sarcophagus, only to get locked in. It isn't until morning that Jerome lets him out. Jerome is the one who, in fact, locked him in. And the reason he did this was so that he could rescue Alfie. So Alfie would be so grateful that he would start revealing all of the Sabuna secrets to him. But Alfie still refuses to do it. At breakfast, Alfie reveals that he got the elixir, but he did not see a demisphere while downstairs. And then he kind of confronts them about not telling him that Victor had come back to the house. And they're like, but we did. We walkie-talkied you. We told you that he was coming, and you responded and said you were safe in your room. And Alfie's like, well, I never got that message, so that actually didn't happen, thank you very much. And he kind of starts to get suspicious that somebody, maybe Jerome, who's been pressing him for information this entire time, stole the walkie-talkie from him and used it to put Alfie in a spot where he could potentially get caught by Victor. Jerome lies and says that Alfie dropped it and he actually didn't steal it. And for some reason, even though we know that Jerome is manipulative and annoying, Alfie believes him. So they're kind of still on good terms. At school, Amber and Nina tell Alfie that he's finally going to be initiated into Sabuna after risking getting in trouble to go down to the cellar to get the elixir. Rufus then contacts Jerome to see what information he had collected, and when Jerome says he has none, Rufus sets up a meeting for the next day. So, the ceremony is happening now, the initiation ceremony. Technically, this is when Patricia gets initiated into it too, but I just added her because it took them way too long and she's been doing Sabuna stuff with him. I'm going to put Alfie up in a second, but during his initiation ceremony and Patricia's, Nina keeps hearing "Unleash the power and light the way," kind of like a whisper that she hears from the house. Their little Sabuna roster. So cutie patootie. Anyways, Alfie returns home from the initiation into Sabuna and notices that Jerome has bought him a gift with the money that he got from Rufus to kind of sweeten him up to see if he will tell him any information about what Sabuna is doing. Alfie then tells him about the elixir of life and admit that Fabian has a sample of it, and Jerome tells him that he needs to get it from Fabian. While in the foyer looking at the chandelier, Nina yet again hears "Unleash the power and light the way" coming from the chandelier. And because she's like staring at the chandelier, like all mysterious and stuff, Victor yet again starts to get suspicious of what she's doing. And because of this, he like gets a ladder out like he's going to investigate the chandelier itself. Amber tells Nina about this, and Nina freaks out because she believes that the answer to this riddle is actually in the chandelier. So they come up with this ploy where Amber like fake passes out to distract Victor long enough so that he's distracted so Nina can get up on the ladder and look at the chandelier to see if there's some clue. So she's messing with the chandelier, and the bottom of it comes off to reveal a new piece. OMG, it's a new piece. We also get a new clue with it. Guys, this is our last clue. Isn't that crazy? Inside the core of my enemy's pride is where the final relic lies. They're in the home stretch. They're so close. Nina then shows this to Fabian, and he begins to wonder who the enemy is for this riddle. And Alfie approaches Fabian, and he is like, hey, where's the elixir? And Fabian's like, yeah, it's under my bed. But Alfie asking about this makes him super suspicious. Fabian then asks Nina how she figured out the answer to the clue being in the chandelier, or under the chandelier. And Nina reveals that she has been hearing these voices that kind of pointed her towards the chandelier. Fabian then does one of my favorite things ever and suggests that Nina might be the chosen one, not Joy. And Nina does not like this. She immediately freaks out. She's like, yeah, don't play about that. That's not cool. Don't like that. Just don't utter that near me again. Jerome then presses Alfie about stealing the elixir again, and Alfie again says that he doesn't want to break the trust of Sabuna and offers drawings of the puzzle pieces that he's seen thus far to him in place of the elixir. During dinner that night, Jerome leaves early, making Alfie suspicious. There's Alfie making Alfie suspicious. So when he follows Jerome, he finds him in Fabian's room looking for the elixir. But he's not able to find it. And that kind of raises a suspicion in Alfie that Sabuna does not trust him enough to actually tell him the location of the elixir. And that kind of makes him feel bad because he just got initiated in, but they don't trust him enough to tell him where anything is. Alfie then gives Jerome the drawings of the pieces. And when Jerome is kind of talking about what he needs them for, he mentions that he's working with Rufus. And Alfie freaks the fuck out because not only do the people kind of know Rufus because of how he kidnapped Patricia, he's just a bad guy in general from what Alfie heard from the rest of the Sabuna members. So he freaks out and he's like, no, you can't give that man those drawings. And Jerome's like, well, he paid me. He's gonna kill me. I have to give them the drawings. So Jerome runs out of the room to keep the drawings away from Alfie. And when Alfie and Jerome are running in the hallway, they end up running into Victor, and Victor stops them and takes the drawings from Jerome. Now revealing that Sabuna has seen all of these pieces. I don't know if he drew this one, but he has seen all of these pieces, which are what Victor was looking for, specifically the ones stolen out of his safe. So now Victor is even more suspicious. He is incredibly suspicious at this point. At this point, this man is so tuned into the fact that these kids are aware of this whole mystery and what these pieces are. I know he's fuming because those cameras are on. I know it. After the drawings were taken by Victor, Jerome tells Alfie that he needs to give him more, and Alfie's like, fuck no, not to Rufus. And again, Jerome is like, well, he paid me for it already. And Alfie's like, nah, man, you're in big trouble. I don't know what to do about that. Sounds like a you problem. Like, obviously Alfie wants to help him, but at the same time, Jerome has dug himself into this hole by mixing with a man who is very much not good. Sabuna then meets up again, this time without Alfie, unfortunately, and they're reading this riddle again, and Amber repeats the word core a couple of times, and Patricia points out that she kind of sounds like Corbière, and they're like, oh my god, maybe the next clue is in or has something to do with Corbière. And Victor, during this time, calls up Sweet, and he's like, you'll never believe what I found. These kids, they know and they have the pieces. Victor, in a state of somewhat panic, but not really because Victor doesn't panic, steps out to meet with Sweet and Andrews. So Nina and Fabian sneak into his office to get a closer look at Corbière. And they're like looking at him, seeing if there's any piece. And I believe it's Fabian kind of throws out the idea that maybe Nina has to twist off Corbière's head to see if something is inside of him. She doesn't really want to, but she does it anyways, and when she twists it off, it reveals the final piece. It says end. There's the final piece. There it is. We have now revealed all of what is up here, and they kind of ponder what it means just says end, and they have all of these like miscellaneous pieces. They have no idea what it means. And Nina's like, where is the cup? On the other side of our little finding the cup plot, Victor, Sweet, and Andrews are discussing how the kids have the pieces and how they're going to find them, because realistically these kids are hiding them somewhere in the house. The house is never really empty because Trudy is always home, or maybe one of the kids is always home. So Victor has to come up with this plan to get the Anubis kids out of Anubis' house so that he can search for the pieces or any information to anything that these kids might know. Victor's genius plan to get all of the Anubis kids out of the house is to infest the entire house with mice. This works, it freaks the kids out, and so the kids are temporarily relocated. This is Anubis. I don't have a picture of the school. The kids are temporarily relocated to the main school building. All of the Anubis kids are going to sleep there, so Victor has time to search the house however he pleases, and every inch of it if he needs to do so. Nina also tells them that they have to look at the pieces again to see if they reveal anything about where the cup is or what the cup is. In class that day, Miss Andrews kind of hints that the entire Anubis house will be searched, and Nina starts to get worried because what if they find the pieces while in this search? Jerome then meets up with Rufus and tells him everything he knows about the pieces that he had pictures of but doesn't anymore, and about the elixir, and Rufus is like, I already knew those fucking existed. You were supposed to bring me something, and gives him 24 hours to bring him anything, or else he will kill Jerome, or hurt him at least, but I think he said kill. It is the night of them staying inside the actual school building, and Nina and Fabian are thinking of ways to sneak back into Anubis' house to get the puzzle pieces that they have hidden somewhere. But as they're on their way out, Mr. Sweet stops them and he's like, you guys cannot leave. Like, no, you have to stay in this building so that we can make sure that you guys are not getting in that rat infested mess. So they lie and they're like, no, we were coming into your office to order your food. We were offering you some food to get ordered. So while they're ordering the food using his office phone, Nina finds the key to his office, and when they return to Trudy, they reveal that maybe Mr. Sweet wants something for dinner. So when Trudy goes to ask Mr. Sweet if he wants something for dinner, they lock both Trudy and Sweet inside Sweet's office. The plan is that because they'll be locked in there without the key, they'll have to call Victor, who has a set of keys for everything on property. So that'll give Nina and Fabian enough time to sneak into Anubis' house and get everything they need that they don't want Victor to see. Victor is searching. He is feeling searchy like Tori Vega, and he's tearing apart these kids' room, and while looking in Fabian's room, he finds the notebook that Fabian has kept everything in. He's been writing all of their treasure inventing stuff in one notebook, and Victor finds that, and he's like, yes, these kids know where it is. Like, I'm so smart. I'm finding everything I need to find. Again, Jerome is on his fuck shit trying to get Alfie to turn his back on Sabuna, and he's like, go follow them into that house. And Alfie finally stands up for himself and tells him to fuck off and tell him no. So Jerome no longer has the lead in Alfie, because Alfie's probably kind of pissed that Jerome is working with this scary man Rufus Zeno. So he won't turn over any information that he knows about Sabuna, the cup, treasure, anything. Victor in his search also finds the elixir, or what she thinks is the elixir, under Nina's mattress. So instead of it being under Fabian's like they told Alfie, it is under Nina's for extra protection. Victor is on his way up to the attic and looking around the attic when Sweet and Trudy finally call him to break them out of their locked office. He tries to ignore it for a while, but when the call keeps happening and keeps coming, he finally goes down there and answers it right before he can find the secret room where the pieces are. As he heads to the main school building to go unlock Sweet and Trudy, Nina and Fabian sneak and go up to the attic. Actually, they see the damage that Victor has left behind. He has like tore their rooms apart, everyone's room apart. They go up to the attic and they grab everything they can. The pieces, the cylinders, anything that they think is important, they grab. When Victor unlocks Sweet and Trudy and enters the temporary base, he suddenly gets suspicious because he's not seeing the kids really anywhere, mostly Fabian and Nina. So he tries to like push into where they're staying, and Patricia is like not letting him in, and even Trudy like helps hide the fact that Fabian and Nina are not there. And when he's about to go search Anubis' house for them, they show up right on time with the food. So they actually were able to cover it up very well. Good for them. They've never been good at lying, but suddenly they became good at lying. Nina and Fabian actually chose to do something pretty smart, and in hiding the pieces and everything else they collected, they hid it under their beds because they assumed that Victor wouldn't check there again because he already checked. So Nina has the pieces under her bed, and she tells them that Fabian hid the cylinders under his bed, but Fabian's like, no, I hid Sarah's box under my bed. So that means they left the cylinders upstairs, which is something they also didn't want Victor to get his hands on because it kind of reveals a little bit, just information, nothing about the pieces though. So it's not great, but it's not that bad. Victor goes back to the house and continues searching. He starts up in the attic where he left off, and he finds the cylinder, and he finds the hieroglyphics on the back of the portrait and calls Sweet, and he's like, I didn't find the pieces, but I have ways to find them now. So the entire trail that Sabuna has tracked this entire season is now about to be found out by Victor. Great. He's also listening to the cylinders that Sarah left behind, and he says that his dad did not kill Sarah's parents, but he did create this society that they are all currently a part of. Miss Andrews then believes that all of this is getting entirely out of hand. The next day, Sabuna meets up in the woods, which is kind of like their little meeting place, and Nina reveals that she thinks the pieces would be safe if they are distributed across all of the Sabuna members, so they each take their pick. They are to carry them literally everywhere. It's never supposed to be on their person. They can't leave it in their room. If they're going to school, they're taking it with them, and to guard it with their life. And this point is going to sound like it's not pivotal, but it is. Amber convinces Mara. Hello, Mara. Welcome back to the video. Amber then convinces Mara to host a prom, to convince the teachers to host a prom because Mara is like student body president. I promise this is a part of the plot. I'm not just saying it to mention Mara. I know Mara has been absent for a very long time, but trust, she's going to play an important role for a little bit. Meanwhile, Alfie is in his room packing for something, and Jerome spots the piece that Alfie took. Alfie took this one. So Jerome sees this piece and takes it from him, and he plans to give that piece to Rufus, because remember, he said 24 hours or I will mummify you. That's what he said. Jerome brings that piece to Rufus, and Rufus is very happy, and he says, you need to get me the other pieces. And Jerome, for some stupid fucking reason, thought that Rufus would be appeased by just seeing the piece. Rufus keeps the piece. Jerome freaks out. Now Alfie freaks out because he was supposed to guard this piece with his life, and now the trust that Sabuna has brought onto him to protect this piece can no longer be there anymore because Jerome has stolen this piece from him. Like, all he cared about this entire time, so far, since he's been included in the plot, was protecting this piece and having Sabuna's trust, and now Jerome has ruined it for us. Back to the prom plot. It was approved. I promise. This will make sense. I promise. Victor then starts solving the little riddles. Like, you can see him around the house solving the riddles, looking under the east stair, tapping on the globe, looking in the blah 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 blah. He's like doing everything Sabuna already did, and Nina's kind of like, fucking weirdo, and he approaches her again to ask her if she knows anything, and she plays dumb yet again, because why reveal the secret that she was sworn to protect to Miss Sarah? And an important plotline to me as a Fabina shipper, but not to anyone else because it's not part of this mystery. Fabian is so pressured into asking Nina to go to the dance with him. This is truly the last 2 episodes, which is what we're on. The last 2 episodes of House of Anubis season 1 are so Fabina territory. It's crazy. In my mind, they've been dating this entire time. Yes, they have. Yes, they have. Because you don't stargaze with somebody you're not dating. Anyways, but because of the prom coming up, Fabian really wants to ask Nina, and Nina really wants Fabian to ask her. And everyone wants Fabian to ask Nina, but he's too scared. It's like Sethan all over again. Fabian goes back to his room embarrassed because he was pressured into asking Nina, but instead kind of sets it up like he wants to ask Patricia. And he's looking at his piece, which is this one. He kept this one. And he's looking at it, and he kind of notices something and goes to press this metal thing and notices that it opens. Let me put the clip in of it opening. Mick comes in to apologize to Fabian for embarrassing him, and he kind of jokes around, and because he is sporty, he throws this ball that he has. It hits this cup off of Fabian's nightstand and breaks it, and Fabian kind of gets mad, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, and Fabian's like, no, wait, and starts kind of connecting the pieces in his mind that maybe, just maybe, the pieces that Sabuna has are the pieces of the cup of Ankh. He looks into the book that he was looking at, which is Unlocking the Eye, the one his uncle gave him, and he reads that Anubis was so mad that Amneris buried the cup with Tut when he died that he broke the cup of Ankh into 7 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pieces, friends. He tells Nina this, and she gets so excited that she calls in the Sabuna members so that they can see if they can try and build the cup. Again, Victor tries to pressure her into telling him where everything is, and she lies, and she says that Sarah told her that she thought the pieces were gone. So she doesn't know where they are. She implies that Rufus might have taken them and that the only piece that she really knew about was the one that Victor had confiscated from her. And then she tries to turn the question on Victor, and she's like, "What do you know about them?" And he won't answer her as well. Like, they are having a petty off. Like, the sisters are sistering right now. They are fighting. In his excitement, Fabian goes around telling all of the Sabuna members their plan to build the cup the next day. And when he tells Alfie, who doesn't have the piece because Jerome stole it and gave it to Rufus, gets nervous, and he asks if he can push it off, but Fabian's like, no, 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 no. We're building this fucking cup. Like, don't say anything. We're building this fucking cup. Alfie then tells Jerome that he needs to get his piece back by tomorrow morning or else he will lose Sabuna's trust. This man loves Sabuna's trust and he doesn't want to lose it. But the next morning comes, Jerome hasn't returned the piece because Rufus won't give it back to him, and Alfie has to tell Sabuna that he lost his piece because Jerome found it and gave it to Rufus. Sabuna then confronts Jerome, and they're like, dude, you don't know a fucking thing. You don't know a fucking thing. Rufus is dangerous. You are dumb. It is stupid. Yada yada, blah de blah. And Jerome is like, listen, you don't understand. He's gonna kill me now. He's paid me. I can't give him money back. He's gonna kill me if I don't keep feeding him this information. We're almost to the last all of these pages are the last episode? Oh me, oh my friends. Nina's plan is to get Jerome to tell Rufus that he has access to all of the pieces, but Rufus has to come to Anubis' house to get them. So basically, Rufus is meant to bring the piece that he has, this piece, to use it to get into the secret place because that's the only way to get in. So the night comes, Rufus arrives at the house. He goes down to the cellar with Jerome, and the plan is Jerome is supposed to put him in the cellar, close the secret hatch door so that Rufus is stuck down there. They will slam a door, pretend they heard a noise, wake Victor up, and Victor will catch Rufus in the house, and they'll get the piece back because Rufus has to give the piece to Jerome so that he can open the locked door. But Rufus makes Jerome go down to the cellar with him. That there's a crick in their plan. So Sabuna is anxiously waiting, and they carry on with the plan as is. They hear a loud noise, they wake up Victor, and they're like, I think they're in the cellar. So while Victor is down there in the cellar, they're kind of anxiously waiting for Jerome to come up through the secret passageway because they're like, maybe we should just close him in, but that would get him caught with Victor, blah, 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 blah. So they're like, Nina, close the passage. And Nina goes to close the passage, and Jerome crawls out. And just as she's about to close it, Rufus crawls out too and grabs Nina. He grabs her, and she screams, oh, Lordy Jesus, does she scream. It's like one of my favorite scenes because it irks me that Fabian was not there because I know Fabian would not let that rat man touch his girl. But Jerome is a loser and did. Meanwhile, while all that is happening, Victor and Rufus are tiffin downstairs. They are tiffin. Rufus is grabbing the elixir. Victor's like, no, you cannot take that. And like I said, Rufus was able to make it upstairs and grab onto Nina before she could close the secret compartment and lock him down there. So Jerome is able to free Nina from the shackles that Rufus is holding her to. And Rufus kind of books it to the front of the house to get out. But luckily, Victor is fast. He is fast and he like intercepts him, but Rufus only cares about getting out, so he like throws the elixir, and of course because he needs it for his chosen hour, chosen day thing, Victor catches it and Rufus is able to escape. Jerome after this threatens Nina with keeping up her end of the bargain, which is protecting him from Rufus, or else he's going to go to the teachers and tell them everything that he knows that they know, which is what they were going to do with his allegiance with Rufus. And Fabian's scowl, I think Fabian would have killed Jerome that night if he could have. Jerome also still wants to give Rufus all of the pieces so that he can be safe. Jerome, if you never would have inserted yourself into this business, you wouldn't have to worry about this. I can't believe I ever shipped you with Patricia. Victor then tells Sweet and Andrews that Rufus had broken into Anubis' house looking for something that night, and he tells them also that he thinks the Sabuna kids have the Ankh pieces and they have to figure out how to get it. Jerome and Rufus meet up yet again. Jerome then lies out of his ass and tells Rufus that the only reason he ran from him and was going to lock him in the cellar was because he didn't want to get caught by Victor with Rufus. Jerome also says that he needs to keep the piece that he stole back from Rufus, and he will get him the other ones in due time. Rufus emphasizes that he needs the pieces by tonight or he will miss the window of opportunity and he'll have to wait another 25 years. Jerome asks him about this, and Rufus, in his uncharacteristic need to give everybody information, reveals that at a certain hour on a certain day, every 25 years, a descendant of Amneris, a woman who is gifted the cup of Ankh, can restore the cup of Ankh to its full glory, and then people can drink the elixir and you'll live forever. Jerome tries to get the date out of Rufus, but he won't tell him at all. He wants to keep that a secret though. God forbid. Nina then hosts another meeting now that they have Alfie's piece back to build the cup, and Jerome sits in on this, and he's like, "It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work." And they're like, "What do you mean it's not gonna work?" So when they try to build it, the cup burns their hands. It won't happen. And Jerome basically makes this deal that he will tell them what he knows if they will let him into Sabuna. So let's put Jerome up there. Truly, look how far we've come. Truly, 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 look how far we've come. So many Sabuna members. That's like a sleigh. Nina then has another nightmare about Sarah. Sarah visits her in her dream, and Sarah says that she gave Nina a little present and then sings Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. When Nina tells the Sabuna members about this, Patricia thinks that they should check in the box of things that Sarah gave Nina when she passed on. Rufus and Jerome meet up yet again, and Rufus tells him that he needs to give him the pieces by tomorrow morning. Jerome then gets caught scoping through Nina's stuff to find the pieces, and they literally just welcomed him into this club. Anyways, they get mad at Jerome because the whole reason that he's in this and the whole reason that they trust him now is because he's in Sabuna, even though they don't really trust him. Nina does not like this man, and that's okay, because who likes Jerome? Alfie does, and in my mind, Patricia did when I was younger. Fabian then looks through Sarah's box of stuff that she gave Nina and finds a constellation map. So him and Nina decide to research that together. Meanwhile, Jerome is telling Alfie and Patricia that not just anybody can assemble the Cup of Ankh, it has to be a specific person. So Patricia brings up Chosen because remember, Joy has said she is the chosen one. And then Jerome reveals that it has to be from a certain bloodline and on a certain day. Patricia then brings Nina and Fabian all of the information that she heard from Alfie, and they use the star map to figure that the specific time and day of the time to reassemble the Cup of Ankh is the night of their prom at midnight. See, I told you the prom was important. I don't bring up anything just for fun unless it's about Fabina over there. This is also the time when Fabian finally asked Nina to go to prom with him. Took him long enough, unfortunately, because they're being loud. And because Victor's annoying and evil, he's listening in on their conversation and hears everything that they know. He takes this to the members of the society and reveals that the kids have the Cup of Ankh. And Sweet is like, "Are you going to host another search?" And Victor said, "No, I'm going to let the cup come to me." It is the night of the prom, and Sabuna's plan is to go meet up with Joy. And Trudy brings Patricia a letter that was shoved under the door that is from Joy to say to meet in the history classroom. So Sabuna arrives at the prom, only to leave and go to the history classroom. Instead of finding Joy in the history classroom, they find Rufus. Oh, yeah, Rufus sent the letter, not Joy. He brings these red sutic sandflies, which are super deadly, which is what he's using to keep the kids in the classroom. So they're forced to be like held hostage in this room until they reveal what is in this bag that Patricia brought, because he knows that they have the pieces. It's all of these kids, all of them, like all of Sabuna. When he goes to open the bag that Patricia had brought to the dance, he thinks the pieces are going to be in it, but it's actually water bottles. Turns out Sabuna is about 10 steps ahead of everyone else, and they already met up with Joy in the woods, and she already has the pieces of the Cup of Ankh. Rufus attempts to get the location of where the pieces and Joy are from Sabuna by tricking them into thinking that Joy is in on the society's plot. And Jerome is like, "Actually, no, he's fucking lying to you guys. He's lying. Don't listen to him. Don't believe a word he's saying. That motherfucker is a liar." Joy then calls Patricia because they were supposed to meet up with her, and she doesn't answer the phone. And Rufus is like, "Actually, no. Call her back. Call her back. Get her here. I need the pieces." But when Patricia goes to call Joy back, Joy's cell phone is intercepted by the society. The society was in on the plan. Remember when Victor said that he wanted the cup to come to him? Well, the cup hath come to him in the form of Joy. Also, when the kids got stuck in the history classroom, Mr. Winkler was already in there, and he's already in on this society, so he almost caught them with the ink pieces. Anyways, He's worried because the kids are stuck with Rufus, who he has been told is dangerous. So when the society heads back to Anubis' house to start preparing for the ceremony, Mr. Winkler finally finds Victor, and he's like, the kids, they're in danger. And Victor, in his I don't give a shit about anything but my own needs, says, okay. And he's like, Mr. Winkler, babe, you're dying. You're dying. So you need the ceremony. Go downstairs. And Mr. Winkler listens. He listens to this. The ritual begins, and Victor starts reading from a scroll where he reveals that the lives of the 7 acolytes are going to be traded in for the lives of the society members. And the 7 acolytes are the names on these pieces. It is, in fact, the Anubis kids. They are the 7 acolytes. We've been talking about them here and there. We've heard it here and there. They're there. Did I really need to highlight this? No, but I printed it off for a reason, so we're using it. Back to Rufus and the kids. The kids are like, you should just let us go at this point. Like, the society probably has a cup. We've already lost. And Rufus is like, no. You want to know how? Because all you are still alive. And Nina's like, backtrack. What the fuck do you mean all of us are still alive? What does that mean? And Rufus reveals that the tipping of the scales of life is not symbolic at all. When those scales tip, the 7 acolytes will die so that the teachers, the society members, will live forever. So essentially, they're anxiously waiting for this cup to be built and something to be drank, because that means one by one, the kids of Anubis will die. In an attempt to leave the building, he takes Nina because he knows Nina is kind of like this locket-wielding girl, and Fabian steps the fuck up. Don't put your hands on Nina. If you put your hands on Nina, and I was confused because in my notes I have leave her, but that's what Fabian said when Rufus grabbed Nina. Like, he grabbed Nina, he's like, you're coming with me. And Fabian, he got angry. He got mad as a bull. He started, and he said, leave her, and tackles that bitch and frees Nina. And because he tackles Rufus, he drops the sandflies that he has, which Jerome takes to use against Rufus. Like, this part, chef's kiss. Honestly, chef's kiss. I said Jerome had the bugs. I actually think it's Nina who has the bugs. And as they're leaving, Rufus is trying to follow them. And Jerome was like, throw the bugs on him. And she's like, no, I'm not. I can't do that. So Jerome takes the bugs from Nina and throws them at Rufus, essentially killing him. Because remember, he said they were deadly. Sabina then races back to Anubis to stop the building of the cup. And when they arrive, Joy is failing to build the cup. She can't build the cup. So the society's like, fuck, like, we spent all this time, we have all these pieces, everything is working out, and now the chosen one can't even build the damn cup. So not only is she sad, but a little bit happy because she couldn't build the cup, the society members are sad because they won't get eternal life. Mr. Winkler finally then is like, I'm gonna go save the kids. Luckily, they were already saved. Sabina and Joy meet up after the ritual has happened, and Joy reveals that she could not build the cup. It is revealed that Joy is the chosen one because she was born on the 7th day of the 7th month, at the 7th hour. And Nina is like, that's so weird because I was born on the 7th day of the 7th month, but I don't know what time. And so Fabian asks Joy, he's like, what time were you born? It was 7 a.m., right? And Joy's like, no, it was 7 p.m. So they're like, Nina, what time were you born? And she's like, I don't know, but I know it was in the morning. Nina, I've got something to tell you, girl. Fabian says that they should give a hand at Nina trying to build the cup, and when Nina finally agrees, it's because she hears the voice of Sarah telling her to go build the cup. Sarah then tells Nina that she's the chosen one and is her destiny, so make my super wrinkled chosen one label, and we'll put it here. Nina is the chosen one. Sarah confirmed it, and Nina begins to build the cup, and unlike the results for Joy, it actually works for her. So let's get our last reveal going. Oh, the one true relic, the cup of ink. However, after building the cup, Nina wants to follow in Sarah's wishes, which is to not have anyone live immortally, especially because in the wrong hands, it can lead to lots of bad stuff. So she plans to hide the cup, but it is revealed that Mr. Rufus is actually not dead. He prepared for if he gets stung by his little sandflies. So he comes back and he has a sandfly and he takes Amber hostage and he's like, yeah, right, put the elixir in the cup, give me the cup, and I won't kill her. However, Miss Amber, my queen, screams out, which alerts Victor, and Victor comes running down the stairs to see what's going on and to stop Rufus from drinking the elixir out of the cup, but he's a little too late. And Rufus is like, "Yes, eternal life." He also plans to burn the cup so that no one can ever drink out of it again. He will be immortal forever, but no one gets it. And the kids are anxiously waiting for one of them to die when all of a sudden Alfie starts choking and like almost passes out on the ground like he's dying. Everyone's freaking out. They're like, "Oh no, Alfie's dying." And Fabian's like, "Yeah, he can stop. I didn't give Rufus the elixir." So he drank some random shit from the cup. So Rufus thinks he is immortal. He is in fact not. He did not drink the elixir of life out of the cup of Ankh, and Alfie is not dying. He's just being Alfie. Turns out he used the same trick that Miss Patricia did earlier in the show, which was using another bottle to like fake out the elixir bottle. So everything is all good. No one's living immortally. The cup is built. Everything is so happy. So let's get back to the dance, right? It's also revealed that Fabian threw out the elixir. So even if someone did drink out of the cup, they wouldn't live forever because no one knows how to make the elixir anymore. So that is gone. That is gone. Everything is good. Everything is gone. And Nina is tasked with hiding the cup of Ankh forever. So while everyone goes back to the dance to have a good time, even Joy gets to go to the dance too. Nina is hiding the cup of Ankh. She returns. Her and Fabian dance, and they have their first kiss. They have their first kiss, and it is revealed that the cup of Ankh is under the auditorium stage to spend hopefully all of eternity. And that, my friends, here, let me move out of the way. And that, my friends, is the full mystery connections of House of Anubis season 1. I know, it took us a long time to get here. We have found the key, the betrayer, the one true relic, the chosen one, the 7 acolytes. Everyone is connected by the pieces that they had. Yada, yada, blah, blah. It's all there. This took a lot of hard work. I know that my mom is probably going to be very happy that I get to take this down. Thank you for watching this video. As I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to say it again. It's probably going to be a while until I get to do season 2. I'm moving next month for 6 months. I won't have the ability to film. Maybe I'll use that time to write the script and plan out everything I need to plan out. So thank you very much for watching. Go check out my other video essays, my Babysitter's a Vampire, driver's license, my other videos. Please go check them out. Go check out my commentary channel with my friend Reese. Those are a lot of fun to make, and those are a lot of fun to hopefully watch. Thank you guys for watching. Sabuna.